Jack Miller lived in a small house at the edge of Pinewood, a quiet town surrounded by dense forest. He worked as a mechanic at the local garage and kept to himself most days. His routine rarely changed until that rainy Tuesday evening when he stopped at the grocery store. He pushed his cart through the aisles, picking up his usual items: bread, eggs, milk, and some frozen dinners. As he walked past the produce section, he noticed something odd. Two tall figures huddled near the back exit. Their clothes were strange, like nothing he had seen before, and their skin, it seemed to glow faintly with a purple tint. Jack pretended not to stare, but his curiosity got the better of him. The figures were clearly not human. Their height alone, nearly 7 feet, marked them as different. But it was their delicate features that confirmed his suspicion. They had no hair. Instead, their heads were adorned with crystal-like structures that caught the light. Their eyes, large and silvery, seemed to shine with an inner light. They looked hungry and afraid. Jack felt a sudden urge to help. He grabbed some extra fruit bread and ready-to-eat items, then approached them slowly. The aliens tensed as he came near. They communicated with each other in soft musical tones. That sounded like no language Jack had ever heard. "Hello," he said. Keeping his voice gentle, "I thought you might be hungry." The taller of the two stepped forward slightly. Her skin shifted from purple to a soft blue. "I am Lyra," she said. Her English was perfect, though strangely accented. "This is my sister Nora. We are grateful for your kindness." Jack offered them the food and watched as they examined each item with careful curiosity. Lyra took a bite of apple, her eyes widening at the taste Nora tried. The bread, her expression changing from uncertainty to pleasure. "You are not afraid of us," Lyra said. It was not a question, but Jack answered anyway. "Should I be?" he asked with a small smile. Nora spoke for the first time, her voice slightly higher than her sister's. "We mean no harm. We are researchers. Our ship crashed in the forest 7 days ago. We have been hiding since then." Jack looked around the store. A few people had noticed the strange group and were watching with suspicious eyes. "Come with me," he said. "You can tell me more somewhere safer." He paid for all the groceries, including the food the aliens had already eaten. Then he led them to his truck. The sisters had to fold their long limbs awkwardly to fit inside. They drove in silence to Jack's house. The rain grew heavier, obscuring the view through the windows, which seemed to comfort the aliens. His home was modest, but neat, with a spacious living room and 2 spare bedrooms. He showed them inside and watched as they took in their new surroundings. Their movements were graceful, almost fluid-like, as they examined his belongings with obvious curiosity. "You live alone," Lyra observed, looking at the single chair positioned before the television. "Just me and sometimes my cat Whiskers," Jack replied. "But she comes and goes as she pleases." He busied himself in the kitchen preparing a proper meal for his guests. He made sandwiches simple but filling and put out more fruit water and juice. The twins sat at his kitchen table their height, making the human furniture seem toy-like. They ate with increasing enthusiasm. Nora especially seemed to enjoy the orange juice, drinking 3 glasses in quick succession. "We come from Azurus," Lyra explained between bites. "A planet in what you would call the Cygnus constellation. Our people have observed Earth for centuries but rarely make contact." "Why did you crash?" Nora asked. Nora sighed. "Our ship was damaged passing through an asteroid field. We managed to reach your planet but lost control. During entry, we aimed for unpopulated areas, your ship beyond repair." Jack asked. Lyra nodded. "Unfortunately, yes. Many critical components were destroyed. We sent a distress signal, but our home is very distant. Rescue would take years." Jack considered this information. These beings were stranded on Earth, far from home and clearly vulnerable. What would happen if authorities discovered them? He doubted they would be treated kindly. "You can stay here," he said, surprising himself with the offer. "At least, until we figure something out. It's not much, but you'll be safe." The sisters looked at each other, communicating silently in that way that twins sometimes do. Then they turned to Jack, their silvery eyes shimmering with what looked like tears. "On Azurus," Nora said, her voice solemn. When someone feeds another in their time of greatest need, it creates a bond, a sacred connection. Jack nodded, not fully understanding but sensing the importance of the moment. You have fed us when we were starving. Lyra continued. In our culture, this means we are now bonded to you. It is something like what you humans call marriage. Jack nearly choked on his coffee. Marriage. But I didn't know. I was just trying to help. The twins tilted their heads in identical gestures of confusion. Is this not acceptable? They asked simultaneously. Jack took a deep breath. This was certainly not how he had expected his Tuesday to end. I'm not saying that exactly. He stumbled over his words. It's just different here on Earth. We have different customs. He saw their faces fall slightly and hurried to add, but you're welcome to stay as long as you need as my guests. Their skin brightened slightly at this. We understand, Lyra said. We will learn your customs. That night, Jack made up the spare bedrooms. With fresh sheets and towels, he showed the twins how to use the shower and lent them some of his shirts to sleep in. They were comically small on their tall frames, but better than nothing. As he lay in bed that night, Jack wondered what he had gotten himself into. He was now responsible for 2 alien refugees. Their ship was destroyed. They were effectively stuck here, possibly forever. And apparently in their culture they were now married. Or something like it. Yet despite the strangeness of it, all Jack felt oddly at peace. He had been lonely for so long. Now his quiet house was filled with new life, new possibilities. He drifted off to sleep, listening to the soft musical language of the twins as they talked in the next room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now they were safe, and that was enough. The next morning, Jack woke to strange sounds coming from his kitchen. He found Lyra and Nora examining his coffee maker with intense curiosity. Lyra held a coffee bean close to her face, analyzing it, while Nora carefully pressed buttons on the machine. Good morning, Jack said, causing both aliens to turn. Their skin, which had been a calm lavender, brightened to a soft pink, which Jack was beginning to recognize as their version of embarrassment. We did not mean to disturb your food preparation device, Lyra said, placing the coffee bean back in its container. It's fine, Jack smiled. Let me show you. He demonstrated how to make coffee, explaining each step. The twins watched with rapt attention, their crystalline head structures catching the morning light and casting tiny rainbows on the kitchen walls. When the coffee was ready, Jack poured 3 cups. The twins sniffed the dark liquid cautiously. Nora took a small sip, then immediately spat it out. Her skin darkened to a deep purple and she made a sound, like tinkling bells, which Jack realized was laughter. Lyra was more diplomatic. It is very interesting, she said carefully, setting her cup down without drinking more. More for me. Then Jack chuckled. He made breakfast simple eggs and toast, which the aliens found much more agreeable than coffee. As they ate, Jack considered their situation. We need to get you some proper clothes, he said, looking at the twins in his t-shirts and the remains of their strange jumpsuits. And we should check on your ship, see if there's anything salvageable. Nora brightened. But we cannot go out, she said. People will see us. Jack thought for a moment. I have an idea. He went to his closet and returned with 2 large hooded raincoats. They were still too small for the aliens, but would cover their unusual features at least partially. If we go early morning, there won't be many people around. They drove to the crash site, guided by Lyra's directions. The ship had come down in a dense part of the forest about 5 miles from town. It was smaller than Jack had imagined, barely larger than a school bus and shaped like a teardrop. Its once smooth surface was now dented and charred. The front section was completely crushed. Lyra ran her hand over the damaged hull, her skin darkening with sadness. This was our home for 2 Earth years, she said softly. Can we get inside? Jack asked. Nora touched a section of the hull that looked no different from the rest, but a door slid open, revealing the interior. The inside was surprisingly spacious, with curved walls covered in what looked like living crystal. Similar to the formations on the twins' heads, it pulsed faintly with light. We should hurry, Lyra said. The power cells are nearly depleted. They gathered what they could: technical devices, clothing, personal items, and some strange food packets. Lyra spent several minutes at what appeared to be the main control panel, downloading information onto a small crystal device. Just before they left, she pressed a sequence of buttons and the ship's lights dimmed further. Self-destruct, Jack asked, alarmed. Nora shook her head. Camouflage mode. The ship will now appear as a large rock to any human technology, and eventually the forest will reclaim it. They returned to Jack's house with several bags of alien technology and belongings. The twins seemed relieved to have their own clothes and personal items. Jack watched fascinated as they changed the simple jumpsuits they wore, transformed when put on, adapting perfectly to their bodies. Over the next few days they fell into a routine. Jack would go to work at the garage while the twins stayed home studying Earth through television, internet, and books he brought them. They were incredibly fast learners by the end of the first week. They had mastered not only English but also began learning Spanish and Mandarin. Jack found himself looking forward to coming home. Their innocent questions about human customs often made him laugh. Why do humans keep pets that serve no purpose? Lyra had asked after meeting Whiskers. Why do you watch sports instead of participating? Nora wondered during a football game. At night, they would sit together and the twins would tell him about their world. Azurus, they explained, was a planet with 3 moons and rings like Saturn. Its surface was covered mostly in water with floating cities built from living crystal. Similar to the material in their ship, our people are connected to the crystal. Lyra explained, it grows with us from birth. She touched the formations on her head. These are not decorative, they are part of us. They help us communicate, share memories. Even heal. Can you communicate with each other telepathically? Jack asked. Not exactly. Nora said, we sense emotions, intentions. When we touch our crystals, connect more deeply, we can share memories, images. It is hard to explain in human terms. One evening during their second week on Earth, Jack returned home to find Nora in the backyard, staring at the sky. Her skin was a deep blue, almost black, with tiny lights beneath the surface like stars. She looked so sad that Jack felt his heart ache. You miss home, he said, coming to stand beside her. She nodded. We both do. Lyra tries to stay positive, but I know she feels it too. We may never see Azurus again. Never see our family. Unit. Jack hesitated, then gently took her hand. Her skin felt warm and slightly textured like fine suede. To his surprise, tiny sparkles of light traveled from her skin to his, tracing the veins in his arm. I'm sorry, he said. I wish I could help you get home. She turned to him, her silver eyes reflecting the stars above. You already have helped us more than you know. You gave us shelter, food, safety, when most humans would have feared us, or worse. Jack shrugged him. Nothing special. Nora tilted her head in that characteristic way. The light from her skin brightened. On the contrary, Jack Miller. You are quite special indeed, at least to us. The moment was interrupted by Lyra calling from inside. She had discovered cooking shows and was experimenting with dinner, which often had mixed results. Jack smiled at Nora, and they went inside together. As weeks passed, the twins became more comfortable with Earth customs. They helped Jack around the house, using their height to reach high places and their surprising strength to move furniture. He taught them to cook simple meals, to use human technology, and to understand money. They developed distinct personalities. Lyra was the more serious twin, analytical and practical. She spent hours studying Earth's sciences, often pointing out errors in textbooks with amused tolerance. Nora was more creative and emotional. She loved music and art, her skin creating beautiful patterns of light and color. When she listened to classical compositions, Jack realized he was becoming attached to them. Their presence filled a loneliness he hadn't fully acknowledged. The house felt alive with their musical language and curious observations. He found himself rushing home after work, eager to share his day with them, to see what new discoveries they had made. But he also knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. Eventually, someone would discover them. What then? Would they be taken away, studied, imprisoned? The thought made his stomach tighten with anxiety. One night, as they sat in the living room watching a documentary about space, Lyra turned to him. We need to discuss something important, she said. Her tone made Jack sit up straighter. What's wrong? He asked. Nora moved to sit beside him. Our biology is different from yours, she began, but compatible in important ways. Jack waited, confused about where this conversation was going. Lyra continued. When we spoke of bonding, it was not just a cultural concept. It was also biological. When Azurians bond, the connection changes us physically. We begin to adapt to our bonded partners. And this is happening to you. Jack asked, to all of us. Nora said softly. She took his hand and placed it against her chest, where a human heart would be feel under his palm. Jack felt a strange double rhythm, unlike a human heartbeat. It was faster, more complex. We are changing, she explained. And you are too, though more slowly. Have you not noticed? Jack thought about it. He had been feeling different, lately more energetic. His senses seemed sharper. He had attributed it to being happier, less alone, but perhaps there was more to it. This bond, Lyra said, it cannot be broken now. It grows stronger each day. This is why we needed to tell you. To give you a choice. Jack repeated. Nora nodded. If you wish us to leave, we will try, though it will cause us pain. Physical pain. We can attempt to suppress the bond, no. Jack said, surprising himself with his vehemence. I don't want you to leave. He looked at both of them, their alien features now so familiar, so dear to him. I want you to stay if you'll stay. The twins' skin brightened to a joyful gold, their crystal structures catching the light and filling the room with tiny rainbows. We will stay, Lyra, said, her usually serious face breaking into a smile. We will stay. Nora echoed, placing her hand over Jack's. We will stay for as long as you wish. Jack felt something shift inside him, a certainty, a rightness. His life had changed forever that rainy Tuesday, and he wouldn't have it any other way. As summer turned to fall, Jack knew they needed a plan. The twins could not stay hidden in his house forever. His neighbors were already asking questions about the strange lights seen through his windows at night, and his sudden preference for privacy. Why? Need allies? He told the twins one evening. Someone we can trust. The sisters exchanged glances, their skin shifting to thoughtful blue. Lyra spoke first. What about the woman at the repair shop? She seems kind. Jack considered this. Diane, his boss, was, indeed, kind-hearted and open-minded. She had been curious about his changed behavior lately, asking why he seemed happier, more energetic. She had even teased him about having a secret girlfriend. It's worth a try, he agreed. We start small, tell one person, see how it goes. They invited Diane for dinner the following evening. Jack was nervous, pacing the kitchen while Lyra prepared a simple meal. Nora arranged flowers in the center of the table, her touch causing them to bloom more vibrantly than nature intended. When the doorbell rang, Jack took a deep breath. Remember, stay in the other room until I explain, he told the twins. Then come out slowly. Diane arrived with a bottle of wine and a curious expression. She looked around the house, noticing the subtle changes, the strange crystals decorating the shelves, the unusual plants Nora had started growing in the window. So where's this mystery girlfriend? She asked, settling onto the couch. Jack sat across from her, hands clasped tightly. I don't have a girlfriend exactly, he began. But I do have something important to show you, something incredible. You have to promise to keep an open mind. Diane raised an eyebrow. Jack had known her for 5 years. She was practical, no nonsense, and fair. I always do, she said. Jack took a deep breath. Diane, 2 months ago, I met someone. Well, 2 someones. They needed help. They were starving, lost. Their ship had crashed. Ship, Diane interrupted. She leaned forward. Jack, are you saying what I think you're saying? He nodded. They aren't human, Diane. They're from a planet called Azuris. They crashed in the forest and can't get home. I know how this sounds, but prove it, she said simply. Jack called out, Lyra, Nora, you can come in now. The twins entered the living room, their height immediately making Diane's eyes widen. They had chosen not to disguise their alien features. Their skin glowed softly in the dimmed light, their crystal structures catching and refracting it. Oh my God, Diane whispered, standing up. Her wine glass slipped, from her fingers, but Nora moved with incredible speed, catching it before it hit the floor. Not a drop was spilled. Diane stared at them, then at Jack, then back at them. "You're aliens," she said unnecessarily. Lyra nodded, her serious expression softening. "Yes, we are researchers from Azuris. Our ship crashed. We cannot return home. Jack has given us sanctuary." They sat down to dinner, Diane bombarding them with questions which the twins answered patiently. By dessert, she was laughing at Nora's impression of humans' obsession with taking pictures of food. "It'll help you," she said finally. "However I can. This is the most amazing thing that's ever happened in Pinewood. Hell in the world." With Diane's help, they created a story. The twins were sisters from Norway, here on a research visa. They were very tall. Yes, but not unusually so for their family. They had a skin condition that made them sensitive to sunlight, explaining their tendency to stay indoors or wear covering clothing. Their accent was simply Scandinavian. Diane helped them get false identification papers through a friend who owed her a favor. She also offered them jobs at the garage, working in the office away from customers. Lyra proved to be exceptional, with numbers quickly taking over the accounting. Nora had a gift for design and reimagined their website and advertising. Slowly, carefully, they began to integrate into the community. They met Stacy from the library, who was fascinated by their knowledge of languages, Martha from the grocery store, who appreciated their politeness, Betty the mail carrier, who never questioned their unusual appearance. Most people accepted the story of the Norwegian sisters. Some were suspicious but kept their distance. The twins learned to minimize their otherworldly traits in public, dimming their skin glow, wearing hats to cover their crystal structures, using makeup to soften their alien features. As months passed, their bond with Jack deepened. He noticed more changes in himself. His eyesight improved. He rarely felt tired, and small injuries healed with surprising speed. When he cut his finger fixing his truck, the wound closed within hours. One evening, as they sat in the backyard watching the stars, Nora took his hand. Her touch sent pleasant warmth up his arm. "What are these changes happening to me?" he asked. She smiled. "Our bond extends our traits to you," she explained. "Azurians live much longer than humans. 300 of your years is our average lifespan. We heal quickly. We need little sleep. Our senses are enhanced. As our bond grows stronger, you gain these traits." Jack stared at her. "You mean I'm going to live for centuries?" "Possibly," Lyra said, joining them. She sat on his other side, her presence comforting. "If the bond continues to strengthen, yes, your body is adapting, becoming more like ours while remaining human." Jack tried to process this information. He would outlive everyone he knew. His friends would age and die, while he remained vital. Living for centuries seemed both a blessing and a curse. "What about children?" He asked the question that had been on his mind lately. The twins exchanged glances, their skin flushing pink. "It is possible," Nora said softly. "Our species are compatible, though different. Any child would be unique, a bridge between worlds, a family," Jack thought. The idea filled him with unexpected joy. Their peaceful existence was disrupted one cold winter morning. A black SUV parked outside Jack's house. Men in dark suits knocked on the door. The twins immediately retreated to the basement, their skin pale with fear. "Can I help you?" Jack asked, keeping his voice calm. "Agent Kevin White, FBI," the man said, showing his badge. "We have reports of unusual activity at this address. Lights in the sky. Strange visitors. We need to ask you some questions." Jack maintained his composure, inviting them in. He stuck to the story about the Norwegian sisters, researchers staying with him while studying American culture. The agents seemed skeptical, asking to look around the house. When they reached the basement, Jack held his breath, but the twins had disappeared. A secret room they had constructed behind the water heater hid them from view. The agents left, but Jack knew they would return. They had been watching the house. Perhaps for weeks the charade could not continue. That night they held a council. Diane joined them, bringing news that agents had also visited the garage, asking questions. "We have 3 options," Lyra said, her practical nature taking charge. First we run, find a new place, hide again. She looked at Jack. Second, we turn ourselves and hope for the best. And third, Nora asked, we reveal ourselves publicly. Lyra said, on our terms, we control the narrative. Jack shook his head. The government would still intervene. They would take you away, study you. Not if we had protection. Diane suggested powerful allies. They debated long into the night, finally deciding on a modified version of the third option. They would reveal themselves, but selectively, beginning with those they trusted, building a network of supporters before the government could react. Their plan began with Diane introducing them to her brother Paul, a reporter for the local newspaper. He was skeptical until Nora demonstrated her ability to heal by closing a paper cut on his hand before his eyes. He agreed to help write their story, but not publish it yet. Next, they met with Dr. Helen Ward, the town's most respected physician. She examined the twins, documenting their biology with fascination. Their healing abilities especially interested her. When Lyra cured her arthritis with a simple touch, she became their staunchest advocate. Over the next weeks, they built their network. Martha from the grocery store introduced them to her son, a lawyer. Stacy from the library connected them with the mayor, Betty. The mail carrier surprisingly turned out to be a retired military officer with contacts in Washington. When the FBI returned, they found not a frightened trio hiding, but a house full of the town's most respected citizens, all willing to testify to the twins' gentle nature and extraordinary gifts. Jack stood tall beside Lyra and Nora as they revealed their true identities to the agents. What followed were weeks of negotiations. The UN government wanted to study the aliens, keep them in a facility. Jack and their supporters refused, demanding they be treated as refugees. Granted asylum and rights, Dr. Ward presented medical evidence of their healing abilities. Agent White himself experienced this when Nora healed his chronic back pain. The lawyer drafted legal documents defining their status. Paul prepared their story, ready to publish if the government tried to disappear. Then finally, an agreement was reached. The twins would share certain knowledge with selected scientists, particularly their medical and environmental technologies. In return, they would be granted protected status, allowed to live freely with monitoring. Jack, Lyra, and Nora returned to their life in Pinewood now, without the burden of secrecy. The twins became known for their healing abilities. People came from neighboring towns seeking help for chronic conditions. They never turned anyone away, though the power drained them, requiring days of rest afterward. Their home became a place of learning where scientists would visit to exchange knowledge. The twins were careful about what technology they shared, focusing on medicine, agriculture, and clean energy, nothing that could be weaponized. The pregnancy progressed differently from a human one. Lyra's normally slender frame changed little, though her skin developed intricate patterns that shifted with the baby's movements. Dr. Ward visited weekly, monitoring both mother and child with a combination of human medical equipment and Azurian technology. The twins had salvaged from their ship. Jack prepared the nursery painting. The walls a soft blue that reminded the twins of the oceans on Azuris. He built a crib with his own hands, following Lyra's detailed instructions to accommodate the crystal formations the baby would likely develop shortly after birth. Nora became protective of her sister, rarely leaving her side. Her own bond with Jack strengthened, as if compensating for Lyra's focus on the growing child. She would often place Jack's hand on her sister's abdomen, letting him feel the strange fluttering movements of their baby. The day of the birth arrived during a thunderstorm. The twins had warned Jack that Azurian births were different from human ones, less painful, but more energy-intensive. Lyra would need both Jack and Nora to help channel the necessary energy. Dr. Ward arrived as the contractions began. She had studied Azurian physiology for months, preparing for this unprecedented event. She set up her equipment, then stepped back, allowing the family unit to work together as their customs required. Jack and Nora sat on either side of Lyra, forming a triangle, their hands linked, creating a circuit of energy. Jack felt a strange tingling sensation starting in his fingertips and spreading throughout his body. Nora's skin brightened to an almost blinding white light flowed between them, surrounding Lyra. The birth itself was surprisingly quick and quiet. The baby slid into the world with a soft cry, its skin a pale blue that darkened to purple upon contact with air. Unlike human babies, it had its eyes open immediately, large and silver like its mother's. It had fine dark hair on its head like Jack, but tiny crystal formations were already visible at the temples. A girl, Lyra, whispered, her voice filled with wonder. She handed the newborn to Jack, who cradled her with trembling hands. They named her Stella as a nod to her stellar heritage. She grew, quickly reaching developmental milestones faster than human babies. By 6 months she was walking, by 9 months speaking in complete sentences. Her appearance was a perfect blend of human and Azurian. She had Jack's dark hair and facial features, but Lyra's silver eyes and subtle crystal formations. Her skin could shift colors with her emotions, though the range was more limited than the twins' news of the extraordinary child spread, despite their efforts to maintain privacy. Government officials returned with new demands for tests and monitoring. Dr. Ward defended her patients fiercely, arguing that Stella was as much a citizen as any human born on American soil. The legal battles dragged on for months. Finally, a compromise was reached. Stella would be monitored by a joint team of human and government doctors, with Dr. Ward supervising all interactions. The data would be shared, but the child's welfare would always come first. As Stella grew, so did her abilities. She could heal like her mother's, though her power was not as strong. She learned multiple languages effortlessly. She could communicate with the twins through their crystal formations, though this connection was different from the one they shared with each other. More limited, but still profound. Jack watched his daughter playing in the backyard one sunny afternoon. She had created a game involving stones arranged in complex patterns that seemed to follow mathematical principles beyond his understanding. Nora sat nearby, weaving crystals into an intricate structure, while humming a melody from Azurus. Inside, Lyra was meeting with scientists from a research institute discussing potential applications of Azurian environmental technology. Their home had become a hub of cultural and scientific exchange, a bridge between worlds. Just as Stella was, life settled into a new normal. The family divided their time between their home in Pinewood and various research facilities where the twins shared their knowledge. They traveled only by car, as flying presented too many complications with security clearances and potential recognition. When Stella turned 3, they received unexpected news. A faint signal detected by deep space monitoring stations. The pattern matched Azurian communication protocols. A rescue ship had picked up the twins' distress beacon. It was still years away, but it was coming. The news threw their carefully constructed life into chaos. Would the twins return to their homeworld, taking Stella with them? Would Jack go with them, leaving behind everything he had ever known? Or would they stay on Earth forever, cut off from their people, their culture, their history? Jack found Lyra in the garden that evening, staring at the stars. Her skin was the deep blue of sadness. "Will you go back?" He asked, the question he had been afraid to voice. She turned to him, her silver eyes reflecting the moonlight. "We have discussed it," she said simply. "Nora and I," and Jack prompted. When she fell silent, "We cannot separate. Our family unit," she said, "the bond is too strong. It would cause pain, death perhaps, for all of us. Even if it were possible, Stella belongs to both worlds. We would not take her from one to experience only the other." Relief flooded through Jack. "But your people, your home." Lyra touched his face gently. "You are our people now," she said. "Earth is Stella's home. It is our home too. We will meet with our people when they arrive. Share information technology. Perhaps even allow others to stay if they wish. But we will remain here inside the house." Nora was teaching Stella an Azurian lullaby, their voices blending in the strange musical language that Jack had come to love. Lyra took his hand and led him back inside to join them. That night, as they sat together as a family, Jack marveled at the journey that had brought them here. A chance encounter, a simple act of kindness, offering food to strangers in need. And now this extraordinary family connected across the stars. The next challenge came from an unexpected direction as Stella approached school age. Jack and the twins debated whether she should be homeschooled or attend the local elementary school. She was intellectually far beyond her age group, but lacked social experience with human children. We want her to know both worlds, Nora argued. She should experience human education, make friends, learn to navigate human society. But she will be different, Lyra countered. Children can be cruel. In the end, they compromised. Stella would attend school part-time with special accommodations for her advanced abilities. The principal, a recent addition to their network of allies, arranged a careful integration plan. The first day of school arrived. Stella wore a special headband designed by Nora that disguised her crystal formations as decorative elements. Her skin control had improved enough that she could maintain a consistent human tone for several hours with concentration. Jack walked her to her classroom holding her small hand in his. Her fingers were slightly longer than a human child's, with tiny illuminated patterns under the skin, visible only in certain light. She looked up at him, her silver eyes bright with excitement. "Will they like me, Daddy?" she asked. Jack knelt down, straightening her backpack. "They will love you, sweetie," he said. "Just remember what we practiced: limit demonstrations of superior intelligence, no healing without permission, maintain consistent skin tone." Stella recited the rules they've established for public interactions. Jack smiled. "And the most important rule: be kind." She finished with a smile. Her skin briefly flashed gold with happiness before she controlled it, returning to a normal human tone. He watched her walk into the classroom, her back straight, her movements graceful, yet carefully controlled to appear more human. As he turned to leave, he noticed other parents watching with curious expressions. He had become accustomed to such looks. The rumors about the family in the house at the edge of town had never completely disappeared. Stella thrived in school, quickly making friends despite or perhaps because of her differences. She was careful, but children noticed things. Adults might explain away her occasional slip in skin control or her advanced knowledge as a medical condition or exceptional intelligence, but children saw the truth more clearly. They simply accepted it. Children adapted far better than adults to the extraordinary. As Stella integrated into human society, Jack and the twins continued their work with scientists and government officials. Lyra's environmental technology had led to breakthroughs in pollution control. Nora's healing abilities were being studied by medical researchers looking for applications in human medicine. Their home expanded as they added a laboratory and meeting spaces. Jack had become something of a diplomat, mediating between human institutions and the twins. He had developed a reputation for fairness and discretion, valued traits when dealing with unprecedented situations. 4 years after Stella's birth, Nora approached Jack with the same news Lyra had once shared. She too was expecting their family would grow again. This time they were better prepared. The government provided additional security, doctors were on standby, and legal protections were already in place for the new child. The second birth went even more smoothly than the first. A boy they named Leo after the constellation visible the night the twins had crashed to Earth. He had Nora's more golden skin tone and a stronger manifestation of crystal structures. But Jack's green eyes and sturdy build, Stella was fascinated by her brother, immediately taking on the role of protector and teacher. She would sit for hours explaining Earth customs to the infant, who watched her with intelligent eyes, seemingly understanding every word. The anticipated arrival of the Azurian ship drew closer. With each passing month, the signal grew strong. The day the Azurian ship arrived dawned clear and cold. Jack stood with his family on a secured government facility in the desert, their children beside them. Stella, now 8, looking like a preteen, her crystal structures fully formed and elegant. Leo, at 4, already as tall as a human 6-year-old, his skin shifting with excitement. The ship descended silently, larger than the twins, small research vessel but still elegant and teardrop-shaped. It settled on the desert floor without disturbing a single grain of sand. A panel slid open and 3 Azurians emerged. Their appearance similar to Lyra and Nora, but with subtle differences. Their crystal structures were more elaborate, their movements more formal. Jack squeezed the twins' hands, feeling their skin temperature rise with emotion. This was the moment they had been preparing for. The children stood tall, their human and Azurian heritage equally visible in their unique appearance. The leader of the delegation approached the translator, provided by the government was unnecessary as she spoke perfect English. "We are the 17th Research Expedition of Azuris," she said formally. "I am Elder Mira. We received your distress signal and came as quickly as possible." Lyra stepped forward, matching the formal tone. "We are grateful for the response," she said. "We had accepted that we might never return to Azuris." The elder's gaze moved to Jack, then to the children, her silver eyes widening. "You have created a family unit with a human," she said. Her tone made it impossible to determine if this was a question or an accusation. "Yes," Nora said proudly. "We have bonded with Jack Miller of Earth together. We have created new life. The first of their kind." Elder Mira approached the children slowly. Her skin shifted to a deep purple of concentration as she studied them. Stella met her gaze without fear. Leo partially hid behind his sister but watched with curious eyes. The elder reached out, touching the crystal formation at Stella's temple. Light flowed between them, a silent communication that lasted several minutes. When she stepped back, her skin had lightened to a soft gold of wonder. "Remarkable," she said. "The children carry both heritages in perfect balance." She turned to the twins. "You have created something unprecedented, a true bridge between worlds. The council will be most interested." "What happens now?" Jack asked, speaking for the first time. "Elder." Mira regarded him with new interest. "You are the human father," she observed. "Your DNA has blended with Azurian essence. This is unexpected. Our scientists believed such a union would be impossible, yet here they are," Jack said, placing his hands protectively on his children's shoulders. The elder nodded. "Indeed. And they are beautiful." She turned to the government officials who had been watching the exchange with barely concealed fascination. "We request time with the family, to share information, to learn from this unique situation." What followed were weeks of meetings, exchanges, and examinations. The Azurian delegation was respectful but thorough in their assessment of the children. Their medical technology far surpassed Earth's, allowing them to understand the complex genetic blending that had created Stella and Leo. To Jack's relief, the Azurians showed no desire to separate the family or to take the twins and children back to their homeworld. Instead, they proposed an exchange program. Scientists from both worlds would work together, studying the unique biology and abilities of the children. Similar hybrid families would be encouraged if others wished to follow the path Lyra, Nora, and Jack had pioneered. With the official first contact established, life changed again for the family. Their home became too public, too accessible, to curious visitors and media. They relocated to a larger property provided by the government, a compound with security, but also space for the children to grow and play without constant observation. Jack stood in the yard of their new home, watching Stella communicate with one of the Azurian scientists. Their crystal structures connected, allowing a direct exchange of information. Beside them, Leo was showing a human researcher how his skin could change color with his emotions. Lyra joined him, slipping her hand into his. "Did you ever imagine this?" she asked, "when you offered us food that night?" Jack shook his head. "Never in my wildest dreams, but I wouldn't change any of it." Nora appeared on his other side, completing their family unit as she always did. "You saved us," she said simply. "But we also saved you. You were alone." "I was," Jack agreed. "Now I'm anything but elder." Mira approached them. Her formerly formal demeanor relaxed after weeks of interaction with the family. "We leave tomorrow," she announced. "Our ship returns to Azuris with news of your family and the potential for further cooperation between our worlds." "Will others come?" Lyra asked. Mira nodded. "We have already received transmissions from the Council. Many are eager to learn about Earth, to meet humans, to explore the possibility of more hybrid families." The elder looked at Stella and Leo playing in the distance. "Others like your children may someday bridge our worlds completely." That evening, they hosted a farewell gathering. Diane came with her brother Paul. Martha from the grocery store brought food. Dr. Ward arrived with medical colleagues, all eager for final conversations with the Azurian delegation. Even Agent White, now a friend and advocate for the family, made an appearance. As Jack watched the humans and aliens mingling in his home, sharing food, conversation, and laughter, he felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The fear and suspicion that had once threatened his family had transformed into curiosity and cooperation. It hadn't been easy. There had been setbacks, government interference, public skepticism, but they had persevered. Stella appeared at his side. "Dad," she said, using the human term she preferred, "did I ever tell you about my dream? You have many dreams, sweetheart." Jack smiled. "Which one? The one about the future?" She took his hand, her skin warming his. "I saw many children like me and Leo, some living on Earth, some on Azuris, some on ships traveling between stars. I saw schools with both human and Azurian teachers. I saw new cities built with both technologies." She looked up at him, her silver eyes bright. "I saw peace." Jack felt his throat tighten with emotion. "That sounds like a good dream, not just a dream," Stella said with the certainty that often made her seem older than her years. "A possibility. The future we're building." Later that night, after the guests had gone and the children were asleep, Jack sat with Lyra and Nora on the porch of their new home, looking at the stars that one of them might someday visit. "Do you ever regret staying?" Jack asked the question that occasionally still troubled him. "Do you miss Azuris?" Lyra considered the question with her usual thoughtfulness. "I miss certain aspects," she admitted. "The crystal cities, the ocean ceremonies, the grand libraries, but Nora and I have created something more valuable here. A new beginning." Nora nodded, her skin glowing softly in the darkness. "Besides," she added with her characteristic optimism, "now the way is open. Others will come. The children will visit Azuris someday. They will carry Earth to the stars and bring the stars to Earth and you." "Jack," Lyra asked, "do you ever regret feeding two strange aliens that rainy night?" Jack laughed. "It was the best decision I ever made, though I still think you should have warned me about the marriage part first." Their laughter mingled in the night air. A human and two aliens who had found family in each other against all odds. Years passed. The exchange program flourished. More Azurians visited Earth. Some stayed, forming bonds with humans, though none yet as deep as the one Jack shared with the twins. Their children grew. Stella became a gifted scientist working to combine human and Azurian technologies. Leo developed remarkable artistic talents, creating sculptures that incorporated living crystal with Earth materials. Jack aged more slowly than normal humans, thanks to his bond with the twins. His hair grayed at the temples, but his strength and vitality remained. He watched friends grow old while he continued in his prime. A bittersweet aspect of his extraordinary life. When Stella turned 16, looking like a 20-year-old human, she approached her parents with a proposal. "I want to visit Azuris," she said. "I want to see the world that is half my heritage." The twins had expected this request, had prepared for it. Their daughter was ready for the journey. Leo at 12 would wait for his turn in a few more years. The Azurian Council had extended a formal invitation. Arrangements had been made. "You should go with her," Jack told the twins. "All of you. Go see your homeworld, show Stella her heritage. I'll watch over things here." Lyra shook her head, the crystal formations in her hair catching the light. "Our bond is too strong now," she explained. "The distance would cause pain for all of us. If Stella goes, we all go." And so they prepared for the journey. The first human to visit Azuris would be Jack Miller, a mechanic from a small town who had once offered food to starving strangers. Their departure was marked by ceremony. Government officials, media, and friends gathered to witness the historic moment as they boarded the Azurian ship designed for diplomatic missions. Stella turned to look back at Earth, her home. The planet that had shaped half her being. "I will return," she promised, though no one but her family could hear. "We all will. This is just another beginning." The journey to Azuris would take 3 months in the faster diplomatic vessel. Jack spent the time learning more about Azurian culture and language. The twins, excited to show their bondmate and daughter Their homeworld taught them about the customs they would encounter. The crystal cities, the floating gardens, the communal gatherings where memories were shared through connected crystal formations. When they finally arrived, the sight took Jack's breath away. Azurus was a world of water and light, vast oceans,